Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Thank you very much for joining me today. Lots to talk about. Fabrizio Romano coming out with a transfer update on Darwin Nunez. Effectively, his price has been set. We'll also be talking about rumours that Milinkovic-Savic's agent, Kesman, who used to play for Chelsea, has come out hinting that he's coming to Manchester United. We'll expose that as the bullshit it is. Also, we'll be talking about a few other transfer stories, Rangnick and a few other bits. But the first thing I want to talk about is Ten Hag's huge transfer plan. This is going to be the biggest transfer window Manchester United have probably ever had. And if that doesn't get you excited, just sit back and watch the reality of it. There is going to be a huge rebuild at Manchester United. They're actually staggering things like Matt Judge leaving and Ten Hag's announcement because the summer itself is going to be so full between June and July that they actually cannot say Matt Judge is going then. I can tell you for a fact, I was speaking to somebody today. We're not in for Milinkovic-Savic, by the way. I was speaking to somebody today. We're not in for Milinkovic-Savic. It's just agent talk. It's just talk from Italy. We're not in for Milinkovic-Savic. You can take that to the bank. Unless Erik Ten Hag flies in June and says, go and get Milinkovic-Savic, which is very unlikely, we're not in for Milinkovic-Savic. There's also going to be a huge raft of changes in the coaching setup and everywhere else. I think it's very obvious. I think everybody knows that Mike Phelan will leave. Don't even know what his role is at the club. Ralph Rangnick came in after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He couldn't bring his own coaches in for various reasons. Obviously, Carrick, McKenna and Ole left. He brought in a couple of people himself. Rangnick's fed it back to Murta, who's fed it back to Arnold, who's fed it back to the Glazers. That needs clearing out. Ten Hag wants it clearing out. There's going to be a lot of people who leave United that you don't even know who the name is. You will hear about Mike Phelan. Darren Fletcher won't be anywhere near the training ground again. But there's countless coaches, maybe fitness and conditioning, who will be cleared out from that football club. It's going to be massive. And that is not even breaking news. Because if you think about it, if Manchester United are really going to embrace change, do you keep Solskjaer's coaches who put the cones out or do the fitness work? No, this is a complete and utter change. There cannot be, Rangnick said it, Murta said it, Ten Hag has said it, to the board, there cannot be any remnants of the mistakes of the past because one little thing goes wrong. Imagine if you've got the fitness and conditioning guy that Ole had and you bring everybody else in but something goes wrong next season and then you go to the board, well, it's because of the fitness and conditioning guy. Well, you know, they've got to clean house. Some people will survive. I think Eric Ramsey will survive, but they've got to clean house and there's going to be loads of people going. And as I said, some of them you will never even know that they were at the club or they left the club because and ultimately as well, a lot of them haven't gone yet. Matt Judge can go now because he's not involved in the coaching and he's not going to be involved in the summer transfer window, so he can hand his notice in now. Mike Phelan and all the coaches, they're not going to go till the end of May because there's still a season to play for. Biggest transfer window for us. What a news to hear at my 21st birthday, Daniel. And I suppose that's the most interesting thing. Welcome to the Members Club, Christian, by the way. If you want to join, click the join button. I'll talk to you about that in a moment. But I suppose the most interesting angle is what it says on the thumbnail, 10 out, 5 in. I mean, I've been predicting this for a while. The conversation I had with somebody pretty close to United today was that we're not in for Milinkovic-Savic, we're not in for Spence, we're not in for a right back, we're not in for Milinkovic-Savic, we're not in for Dybala. These stories are just paper talk from people who have agents who need to move. Spence is going to leave Middlesbrough this summer. Milinkovic-Savic wants to leave Lazio. Dybala is a free agent. Manchester United will be linked to loads of players. We are not in for those players as of this morning. We're not in for them. We're not looking at a right back at this moment in time. Maybe we should be, but there's loads of problems to sort. But what is absolutely categorically true, and Manchester United need to be very careful about this because they don't want everybody to, chuck loads of names at them. It could become very chaotic this summer, is that Manchester United will and expect to lose around 10 players. 5 out of contract, probably 5 sold. They therefore expect to sign 5 players to replace the 10 and supplement that with some youth talent as well. So this will be Manchester United's biggest summer. I can't remember a summer like this. I think Van Gaal had one where we bought a lot and we sold a lot, but this we're talking between 10 and 20 transfer deals. I mean, I can't even narrow it down. I'd like to say 15. We might not hit 15. We might go beyond 15. But between 10 and 20 transfer deals for Manchester United to do between June the 1st and August the 31st. It's going to be hectic. Fasten your seatbelts. Get ready. We'll be linked to players we don't get. We'll go after players we do get. We'll miss out on players. We'll try and sell players. Then we'll sell them. Then it's not... When you think about it, it's not like going to be June, the first week of June, we sign the centre-back. Then we sell... that. It's not going to be like that because... we'll go for players we can't get. So we'll be linked to a player and then we won't get them and then we'll go for another player. It's going to be absolutely hectic and Manchester United are fully expecting that. It's a challenge. It's a massive challenge. I was told this morning there will be disappointments and there'll be moments of joy. And Man United are fully expecting that because they know the position. And really, when you hammer home what Rangnick said yesterday, of course, he wants to help with the recruitment, he wants to persuade players, he wants to go for the right players, but they're also aware that it's a very competitive transfer market as well. So, as I said, this is going to be a huge transfer window. Whether we're going to get the excitement we want, yes. Are we going to get the joy at times? Will we get some disappointment? Yes. Will we come out of this transfer window completely happy? I was told this morning, no, you won't, because it's impossible to come out of this transfer window completely happy. There will be players that stay at this club that are not for sale, that the fans want to be sold. There will be players that fans think we should go for, that we can't go for. But what the club are really hoping to do over the summer is deliver moments that inspire the fans, but also get to the start of season where Erik Ten Hag can really revolutionise this football club and get it moving. And what I was told is that, look, if Donny van de Beek comes back and performs under Ten Hag, if they bring a decent CDM in who can grow under Ten Hag, a striker, a centre-back, and remove a lot of the deadwood, then that will be progression from this moment. And what United are looking for this summer is as much progression as is possible in the time they've got. They're realistic that they can't get everything. They know they can't get everything, but what they need to do is maximise everything. If they need to sell 6 or 7 players, let's sell 5, because they can't sell 7. If they need to buy 7 or 8 players, let's get 4 or 5 in. They know they can't get 7 or 8 in one summer, so they're going for as much as they can get. Thank you for welcoming me to the community, says Bjorn. Been a member a while, but it was nice anyway. Thanks, Bjorn. Thanks for becoming a member. And Daniel as well. We need to sign the right players this summer, says Ishmael. And hi, Mark. What about Ronaldo? Is he staying? I want to stay seriously. I'll talk about that, Arca. And Ollie was like a meal served at a restaurant that customers loved, but eventually gave... okay, I can't say that, Shaz. I do want to talk about Solskjaer in a few minutes' time, but I really want to drill down on this transfer window. I mean, look, make sure you subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner, because notifications are going to be big. It's going to be a very, very big summer on this channel. Get plenty of rest because you will be awake a lot over the summer. It's going to be ridiculous. Fabrizio Romano needs to go in hibernation for May because it's going to absolutely bang in June, July and August around Manchester United. Not only that, there's going to be a lot of things going on around other clubs. Other clubs are going to do business as well. Can I predict what's going to happen? Somebody just said there, it says 10 out, 5 in on the thumbnail. I'll stand by that. I've said that before. I'll stand by that. I think I'll be very close. Write it down on a bit of paper yourself. How do you think we'll leave? How many do you think will come in? I'm going to say 10 leave, 5 go. I won't be exactly right. It might be we buy 4 and 12 go. It might be that we buy 6 and 7 and 9 go, but it'll be around 10 out, 5 in. Obviously, the 10 out is going to be Cavani, Matic, Mata, Pogba, Lingard. I would add Jones, Bailly, Henderson, Martial, and one of the fullbacks, and then maybe a couple more. So I think there you go. Incomings, I haven't got a bloody clue. If you want to guess, Timber at centre-back. Midfielder, I don't know who we're going to go for at midfield. I don't know. There are options. I don't know who we're going to go for. At the moment, I'd still maybe say we'll probably go for Ruben Neves, but that's only because we were linked to him last summer. Striker, I think we're in for Darwin Nunez. We'll talk about him in a minute. That's 3. I think we'll go for another midfielder. I wouldn't be surprised if we try and get in the Lema race, which I'd really like. And 5, I think we'll go for an attacking midfielder, whether it's Eriksen, Nkunku or Anthony. So that would be my guesses. We might go beyond 5. We might not quite get 5, but I'm very excited about it, and it's encouraging to know for a fact that for all the bad things United have done over the recent years, and they have done, I've always said, if positivity comes out of that football club, no matter how long it's taken them to do this, and it is way too late, I will shout it out and give it some praise as long as they keep doing it. And so far, they're doing a lot of right things. Ten Hag's appointment was what the fans wanted. Matt Judge being removed was what the fans wanted. A massive clear out was what the fans wanted. 4 or 5, 6 good players coming in is what the fans wanted. They're not doing it for the fans, but I think the fans are being listened to and they're realising that it needs to be done for their own decision making. Can you tag Elon Musk on Twitter to buy Man United? I've tried it before, unsure, it doesn't work. And Mark, if you could only sign one player this summer, who would it be? And one player to get rid of, says Leon. It's not enough. It's just not. I'd probably just sit and cry, Leon. It's just simply it's simply not enough. We need way more than that. If I had to buy one player, though, it would be a CDM. That's the most important position. And if I had to sell one player, I mean, there's not one player that makes a difference being sold, to be honest. Oddball, thank you very much. I mean, look, just one thing I do want to talk about before we talk about Darwin Nunez. In fact, we'll talk about Darwin Nunez first, but I'll just give you a little brief of something I want to talk about. There's an article in The Athletic from Andy Mitten today, who I think is very, very good, but it's very negative. And we had Gary Neville on the game on Thursday night, who really annoyed a lot of people who listened to the commentary, just listen to the United Stand, but really annoyed that people. We should get Sangar from PSV, says Little. Well, I said that last night. It might happen. You know, you never know with Ten Hag. He knows that league very well. But Gary Neville was very negative throughout the game on Thursday night, and it annoyed a lot of people, as some people agreed with it. This article in The Athletic is very negative again, and I want to talk about that because I feel like they've jumped the shark. It feels like these people, like, you know, Gary Neville, Andy Mitten, Rio Ferdinand, some fans, they really didn't want to be negative about the Solskjaer era, and they stuck by him when the majority were negative. And now it feels like, because they bottled all that up, now they really want to vent. But most of the fan base is already vented, and we've moved on to looking forward. But they're still venting. It's like watching the omnibus episode of EastEnders on a Sunday when you've already watched Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever day it's on. We've been through that. It's like they're going through the 7 stages of grief. And they're on frustration when we've moved on acceptance and looking forward. Because I find the negativity around the club at the moment from pundits, journalists and fans quite irrelevant, because I've been through that. I'm now looking forward. I mean, look, this article talks about things like it's a divided, injury-hit dressing room where everyone's moaning at each other. But this was the headline in January. I'm not interested in negativity around the club at the moment. I actually think we found a team over the last 2 games that is playing more together than any other time this season. It's not great. The football's not great, but we're actually trying to get those points to get us into the Europa League, to take us into a positive summer. I think the moaning around the team at the moment is misplaced. We've almost moved past it. Anyway, let's talk about... I do want to talk about Solskjaer in a minute. It's a bit of a niche topic, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But I made the mistake of watching the Chelsea game last night after missing the live telecast. Oh my goodness, it is not half obvious who is checked out, says Peter. Yes, it very much is, isn't it? So let's talk about Darwin Nunez. Fabrizio Romano this morning has put a tweet out saying that it will mess up. We're back again. Sorry about that. Refresh. I haven't said anything on the interim, don't worry about that. So just refresh and we are back now. So Ronaldo put out this Instagram or Twitter saying that, you know, thanking the fans, and then I think his brother or someone attached to him has said underneath, one more game. And people have started saying, oh my God, Brentford's our last home game. That means Ronaldo's going to leave. With Ronaldo, the decision's not been made. I can't talk to you about Ronaldo more than saying no decision has been made and it will be discussed in the summer. Obviously, he's got to speak to Ten Hag. He's got to see what options are out there. But what I would say about Ronaldo is you can't be 100% he's going to be here next season. I always said if we don't get Champions League football, there's a risk. If we had got Champions League football, he'd definitely be here next season. So it's our fault if he leaves. We've had a crap season. He's been a consistent top performer. He deserves to play in the Champions League, and United have let him down, just like they've let De Gea down. So Ronaldo could leave in the summer, but it depends if there's an offer on the table. Will a PSG make him an offer to come to the Champions League and play with him? If they do, we might be in trouble. But on Darwin Nunez, when you leave, who will cover the transfer window, says Benla. Well, I'm not discussing that. I've told you. You'll have to wait another 3 weeks. Or is it 4 weeks now? It's 4 weeks. Mark, this transition we're going through so happens to coincide with Ronaldo returning. His high standards exposed Ollie, says Marks. I'm going to talk about Ollie in a moment, but it's not. I don't want a headline on Ollie. So Fabrizio Romano has said that Darwin Nunez' price of €75 million might not be enough. Welcome to the Members Club, Lee Russell. So the issue with Darwin Nunez is a similar issue to Calvin Phillips. United would like him. The player would be suitable for Manchester United as part of the rebuild, but the price is ridiculous. €75 million is about what? I don't know what the exchange rates are at the moment, but £67 million. So basically they want €80 million, don't they? Which is £70 million. Darwin, if you spend £70 million on Darwin Nunez, we spent £74 million on Jadon Sancho last summer. There's not a $4 million difference between Sancho and Nunez in relation to their status. Jadon Sancho, obviously there's a bit of an English tax. Obviously done it consistently in the Champions League for a number of years. Yes, Darwin Nunez is a striker, but he's playing for Benfica in the Portuguese league. 70, and I know people will say, well, João Felix went for 100, but I just don't feel that Man United should be spending £70 million on a striker, especially if Ronaldo's going to stay for another year. So I don't know. My concern is the minute we spend anything over £50 million on one player, you're massively eating into your transfer budget. And when we need to sign 5 or 6 players, if you spend 70 million on one player, you're not going to sign 5 or 6 players, are you? So that's my concern with this. I do like it, but I agree with Philip. He's overpriced. The problem is there will be a lot of people looking at him, and it only takes one club to say, yes, we'll offer 70 million, and then United have got a decision to make. If we had a clear run at it, like we did with Bruno, you can negotiate with Sporting Lisbon all month and get the deal that you want. But with Benfica and a whole summer and Nunez, they can say, look, we're not selling him for anything less than 70 million. Come back to us in late August. In late August, United will have played 4 or 5 Premier League games, probably 3 or 4 maybe. I don't know what the fixtures are yet. We can't afford to do that. And also, what if an Arsenal bid 65 million straight away? It's going to be a very difficult deal to do unless we want to pay what they want. And there will be competition for strikers. I'm so happy that Matt Judge leaves, the type of bloke to shop at Tesco's without a club card, says Joshua Bellwater. Daniel Kirk's been a member for 11 months. He says, I hope you're well, Mark. I feel we can make lots of signings without disruption as everyone will be learning the new system, hopefully like a new squad, says Daniel Kirk. Look, so that our new manager changed his name to Eric Ten Out. Hope, yeah, I like that one, N. Chiluk. Hope Anthony and Timber comes too. And swap him for Martial for Nunez, who wants to leave, says Nor. Yeah, but does Anthony Martial want to go to Portugal? That's not a bad idea, but it's whether he wants to go there or not. Anyway, on Darwin Nunez, our latest exclusive video on the Members Club is a deep dive into Darwin Nunez. So if you feel you don't know everything about his game and you want to, if you're a member, check out the Members video. It's also on the homepage. Just need to look down at all the videos. You'll see Nunez versus Ronaldo. Harry Kane's thrown into that as well. All their stats, all their strengths, analysed by me on the Members Club, exclusively for the members. Make sure if you are a member you watch it because it's for you. If you want to click it and watch it, join the Members Club and check it out. A real deep dive into Nunez. Personally, I think he is a good player. I think he's the right sort of player, but I do worry about the price. It's very similar to Kelvin Phillips, really. I do worry about the price. Will you be able to ever forgive Rashford if he doesn't give anything in a game? We lose out on Europa League. Ronaldo leaves for not having European football. I mean, other players are at least trying, says Sarvish. I wouldn't sit here and say I'll never forgive Marcus Rashford because we've got nearly 10,000 people watching, and whilst I know every single one of you are capable of creating your own opinions and disagreeing and agreeing with me and anybody else, I don't feel comfortable saying I'll never forgive Marcus Rashford for this season. For 2 reasons. 1, he's a player I like, that I think there is a good player in there. And 2, he's not the only reason that we've been bad this season. There's a lot of players who've let this club down. What I would say about Rashford is that he has been picked at times. There are players that have been as bad or worse than Rashford who haven't even played and haven't even contributed. So on a scale, Rashford's in there, but he's not the worst, and he's certainly not the best. I think there's a number of players at Manchester United this season that if they come back next season revitalised and try, I will in the back of my mind be thinking, why couldn't you do that at the end of the season? Look, trying for 75,000 fans next season because we've got a new manager. It's the same fans this season turning up for Chelsea and Brentford on Monday or any other shit result we've had at home. Why couldn't you try? Why do you try for them next season but not this season? And that's my issue. Me being stupid. Someday Ronaldo tweets it's time to certain records in the Europa League, says Joel. Look, I'm hopeful Ronaldo will stay, but we'll see. Milinkovic-Savic, there was a fake quote going out last night from Kesman, his agent, that he wants to come to Manchester and he's been in talks with Manchester United and PSG. This is not out there. Apparently it was from Sky Italy. Nobody can find it. If it happened, it clearly didn't happen. But from what I spoke to this morning and what we know about Milinkovic-Savic, he is now the next Schneider, the next Gayton. He is the player that we get linked to every summer that we're not going to buy. We're not in for Milinkovic-Savic. What's happening with Milinkovic-Savic is that it's time to move on from Lazio. I think that they anticipated over the last 4 years there'd be a big money move for Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio to somewhere, and it's never materialised. And they're trying to get it done because he's getting closer and closer to 30. I mean, he's not quite 30 yet. He's a few years off, but he's well, he's past his mid-20s, so they need that big move. He's well proven in Serie A. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to generate interest. So how do you generate interest? You throw Man United name and PSG name into it. My personal feeling is that he'll sign a bumper contract at Lazio, or he'll move to another Italian club. But this is not a deal that Man United are looking at. So yeah, it's not. We get linked to Milinkovic-Savic because Mourinho wanted him 5 or 6 years ago. That's why we get linked to him. It's the same as Koulibaly. We sometimes get linked to Koulibaly. We might get linked to Koulibaly this summer. It's always because we were interested in him when Mourinho was here. Perisic, we were very close to signing Perisic. We always get linked to Perisic now because we did have an interest, but it was under a different regime 2 managers ago now. We spent 57.6 million on Martial from Monaco, says Simon Cliff. I thought it was money well spent at the time, pal, but obviously it hasn't been money well spent. If you are tuning in a little bit late, massive transfer summer coming for Manchester United. It is going to be huge. It is going to be exciting. But let me just say this, and the club are very, very, very aware of this themselves. They can't complete the perfect summer. They can't do a FIFA summer. They can't do a Football Manager summer. They can't sell 15 players and buy 10 players, which is what needs to be done. It's what Rangnick said. It's what Murta knows. It's what Ten Hag believes is needed. It's what United knows has to happen. But they do intend to do that over the next 2 or 3 years. But they know they can't do it in one summer. So we're going to have a very, very fast-moving, exciting summer. There'll be moments of joy, there'll be moments of frustration and disappointment. We won't always get the signing that we want because there's going to be a lot of competition. But United are going to be relentless in their pursuit this summer to remove 10 players and bring 5 players in. And if they can get close to that, then for a first summer, it's a good start. And I think, I'm not always the most positive around United, but if we can remove 10 players and bring 5 in, when have we ever had a summer like that? I personally think we should try and remove 12 and bring 6 in. I think a 50% ratio of outs to ins is about right, considering the young players we've got and the fact that we won't be in the Champions League next year. And we do need to focus on a set group of players of about 20 that we can really build as the core for the next 3 or 5 years. So we don't need a squad of 30 like we've had at the moment. I think we need a squad of about 20 supplemented with young players that we can really get them used to how we want to play. And obviously in that squad, there's probably still 3 or 4 players that will leave the following summer. So I like that ratio of 12 players out, 6 coming in. That's what I'd be looking for. But 10 out, 5 in, I think is realistic. Rashford is a great player. Having one bad season, we should not give up on him, says Ray Carl Brown-Amori. Well, it is 2 seasons, really, to be fair, Ray. This is the first time in ages I've felt confident around Manchester United, says Jordan White. He's been a member for 20 months. Thank you very much, Jordan. And welcome to the Members Club, Simon Cliff. Legend, thank you very much. The next thing I wanted to talk about was just... so speaking about Nunez, there was a little bit I wanted to talk about around the striking situation. Well, no, not the striking, the CDM. A lot of people getting very, very sort of stressed about the striking. Here we go. Which CDM should Man United sign, says Ishmael. Lots of people talking about this at the moment. I've always quite liked Bissouma. I mean, look, obviously, people are going to go, Goldbridge wants Bissouma. God, the standards at this club are terrible. I'm realistic about what we want. We're not going to get Tchouaméni. I've accepted that. We're not going to get Declan Rice. I've accepted that. Apparently, Calvin Phillips is not wanting to come to United because of his Leeds connections, and Leeds want 60 million, so I'd avoid that straight away. There's 2 negatives. Neves is a player that I like. There are players in Europe that I don't know loads about that hopefully our scouting and Rangnick can provide better clarity on. But I like Bissouma. I don't think we'll go for Bissouma because of the off-field issues. I know he was arrested back in January. Who else was arrested in January? Maybe United just want to avoid that sort of character or issue, or I don't know. But ultimately, there are plenty of options out there. I just don't know who we'll go for. And I think one of the most important things as well is that I do think, as I've said before, we do get locked down on this whole back 4 holding midfielder, box-to-box player, attacking midfielder, just because that's what City do with Rodri. But Liverpool don't always do that. They'll play Fabinho and Henderson as sort of a 2 at times, or sometimes one will hold and one will go box-to-box and they'll swap the role. You can play, and a lot of European teams play it, you can play with 2 holding midfielders in a high press. And obviously they're not just going to sit back. They'll rotate the role, they'll push up together, they'll defend together. And if you're going to do that, you don't need an Ndidi or a Rodri or a Carrick or a Declan Rice. You can end up with a midfield 2 that is more, dare I say it, advance. You know, you don't if you didn't buy Declan Rice, but you bought a Tielemans and a Lamer, that might work. That might work, even though they're not specialist CDMs. It could work because they share the role, and there are two going back and forward. So don't look. Sam Allardyce's style of football of hitting hope and you know, second balls and direct and physicality isn't Pep's football, is it? So just because we've been talking about for the last 2 years buying a holding midfielder, we don't have to play with one holding midfielder. We could play with two more energetic midfielders who go back and forth. In which case, that would probably suit someone like Fred as well as a squad option. Tonali would be great. I do like Tonali, Simon Cliff. I really do like Tonali, but I don't see it happening, if I'm honest with you. We just need to start with getting a functional midfield partnership, says Joshua Bowwater. Donny and Tielemans, says Connor Payne. I mean, I wouldn't write it off. Kamara and Lema. Lots of people really like Kamara. I don't like to deliver bad news, but we're not in for Kamara. Like, I can't keep telling you this enough. We were offered him by Marseille because they wanted to get some money at the end of the January transfer window, and we said no. So he is available for free, but United said no for 5 million. I don't think, as much as United like to save money, if they wanted a midfielder, they needed a midfielder in January, they would have gone for him. So we're not in for him at the moment. Renato Sanchez is interesting, Manuel. I expect him to move, but there's not a lot of noise around Renato Sanchez. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But look, there are reasons to be positive around United at the moment. Of course there are. The arrival of Erik Ten Hag, the removal of issues from the past. Of course, we needed to do that. And of course, the biggest thing for me as well is that there is a lot of negativity. I'll go back to it again. I think that I've noticed this a lot. I've noticed people who've been very critical of my moaning back in around Christmas time and now moaning like I was at Christmas time. I've seen it with Twitter accounts. I've seen it on Instagram. I've seen it on the TV. I hear it on the radio. I've seen it with journalists. I've seen it with ex-players. They are where I was probably 3 or 4 months ago. They're like incessantly moaning. Oh, the dressing room's got injuries. It's divided. They're all falling out. It's a disgrace what we're doing. They deserve to be losing games. Get this player out. Get that player out. And I'm like, it is like watching the History Channel. It's like watching UK Gold. I've been there and I've seen it all. But I think because those people were so sort of locked into this positivity around Solskjaer that then they tried to give Ranić I don't know what happened, but there are some people around the fan base at the moment that are just ridiculously negative. And it's funny because it's sort of given me a glimpse of when they're ridiculously positive and I've been negative and how frustrating it is. So I'm not criticising them in the sense that I don't think they should do it. It's their opinion, of course, but I do think it's misplaced. I do think negativity and moaning about everything at the moment. I think we need to accept that this season is going to be the worst season we've ever had in Premier League history. I think we need to accept that these players are crap, and when you've accepted it, you don't really want to be shouting and screaming at them anymore because they've already ruined it. I think when you're shouting and screaming at these players, it's because you're almost trying to give them a kick up the backside to improve. I don't do it anymore because I know they're not good enough. I know they've let us down. I think this has been a terrible season for some players in that squad who will never recover from what they've done. And we can all think of those names, and we all know we can all think of names that aren't part of that. But there is a positivity, and I think it's time to get on board with that. We just need to get 6 points from Brentford, Palace, and Brighton, and then get out of this season and let the good times roll, let the improvement roll. And when I say let the good times roll, we're not winning the treble next year. I don't think we'll win a trophy next year, but there will be improvement, and I'm excited to see it. Season hasn't started and you're already Ten Hag out, says David. Yeah, okay, David, wake up. We need a Moneyball strategy in the market, says Puns. Well, I think you'll get this with Ralph Rangnick. Oh, that reminds me, I did really want to talk about this. So I've seen it more and more, and I just feel it needs revisiting very, very quickly. Mark, which transfers do you think will happen? Need your help as I'm a realistic career mode, and which ones are going, says Tay. I've already done it, Ty. If you remind me, I'll do it again in a minute. But I've already sort of tried to predict that earlier on in the show. In fact, someone might type it in the chat for you. I don't really care who we sign. In Ten Hag, I trust. What I don't want is a summer of chasing a name and missing out on 2 others we could have signed, says Nick P. Yeah, I think that's a great point from Nick as well. We have done that in the past, and if we went after, let's say we went after Declan Rice, and we went all summer after Declan Rice, and then we didn't get him, but in the interim, people like Tielemans and Lema and Hadara and Bissouma and Neves all move, and then we realise we haven't got Rice, and you've missed out on those options. That's what Nick P's saying. He's spot on. Opinion on Cigar from PSV. Leicester apparently in for him. Lots of people really like him, Michael. I've only seen little bits of him. Look, I have seen Ajax play a few times this season, but mainly that's because of the Champions League and a couple of games I've watched since we've got Erik Ten Hag. One of which was PSV, but I haven't really seen PSV much. I watched them play against Leicester just because I wanted to see what the skill gap was. But he looks an interesting player, but I'm not going to start at this moment in time, doing that. Morning, Mark. What watch-alongs are you going to do? Says Nathaniel. I'm doing Newcastle-Liverpool in a couple of hours on That's Football, actually. And obviously Monday night, Brentford. Moneyball Strategy, says Puns. Moneyball's a film. You can check it out with Brad Pitt. Basically, you crunch the numbers and the stats. You basically throw everything into a computer system, and you can figure out players that are consistently not injured but perform well. There's so many stats in sports now. You can literally run a filter through a system about, if you wanted to find a player that hardly ever gets injured, that wins most of their aerial duels, that covers the most distance. Just those three filters: never gets injured, covers the most distance, wins a lot of aerial duels. So you're looking for a tall, energetic, non-injury prone player. You can whack that into a stat system and it'll give you the list of the top 10 players in Europe for that. And if there's one who's at, say, Lille, who's 22 and coming out of contract in a year's time, you might want to go and get that bargain. But of course, I mean, that's not what United are going to do, but that's a Moneyball system. You throw different assets that you're looking for into a system and see it comes out, and you hope that you're going to find a diamond in the rough, I suppose. San, thank you very much for becoming a member. I'm not Ten Hag. Oh, yeah, I know what I mean. Ten Hag, 10 players out is what we're talking about, not Ten Hag's huge. Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to say this about Solskjaer because I got sent it again today, and I thought it's a good topic just to generate a bit of conversation that's not around transfers. So that Roy Keane said on Thursday night that United would be in a better position if they'd stuck with Ollie instead of going for Ranić. And it created a bit of a conversation. Now, we've had all sorts of people talking about it. Fans, mere mortal fans, and then these people who do stats who think they're better than everybody else because they're good on computers, and they think these tactical analysts. We've seen them all. They've read a book, they've been to university, and they think that even though they're probably shit on a football pitch, they can tactically analyse a game. So a few of these people have been sort of sent their... I've been DM'd their tweets because I think people think, well, I don't want to get into an argument with them because they run this website, they do that, they're tactical, and all their minions will have a go at them. So I'm not going to start getting into arguments because fair play to anybody who gets out there and wants to analyse football, and it's all about opinion. But I did see one that was sent to me that if we'd kept Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and not got Ronaldo, we'd still be a team that we'd still get fourth. So it was something along the lines of, if United had kept Solskjaer and not signed Ronaldo, we'd still be fourth because we wouldn't be playing with a high line that we can't do, and we'd still have the pace of Rashford and Sancho to score goals. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In my humble opinion, absolutely not. Don't Brighton already use this approach? It's all about how you interpret the data, though, says Razzo. It is, yes. And all these players, coaches and other staff leaving the club is thanks to Ranić's work, says NYYK. Yeah, and look, you've got to give, it's not just Ranić. He's an interim coach, so you've got to give credit to people like John Murtagh and the board for allowing the decisions to be made that were now being made. So would we be in fourth place if we had Ollie in charge and Ronaldo wasn't here? I mean, it's offensive. I know a lot of people are getting angry because I already see it in the chat. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In my opinion, if we kept Solskjaer, I don't think he would have made Christmas. He got sacked in November. He wouldn't have made Christmas. It was getting more and more. He's gone. He's absolutely gone. When Roy Keane says United would have been better off keeping Solskjaer over Ranić, he's living in a fantasy world. He's not living in the real world. People had had it with Solskjaer. The fans had had it. He'd lost the fan base. It was you never come back from that. So I can't be dealing with hypotheticals that have got no place in reality. For one, he'd lost the fan base. He was never going to get it back. Even if we'd won 4 games in a row, he'd lost it. The next loss, people would go when you've lost the fan base like that, even if you win 3 or 4 games, the next loss, they'll be all over you. So he'd lost the fan base. Ollie was done for. He was gone. That's the first point. The second point is there's no way we would have got fourth place from under Solskjaer. We hemorrhaged 4 goals against Leicester, 4 against Watford. That would have kept happening. And you know why it would have kept happening? Because the previous season when we got second place, and this is very clear to me as somebody who watches football and watches United a lot, United got second place because Liverpool had a major injury crisis and Chelsea sacked their manager at Christmas. So we jumped from 4th to 2nd because of that. But the main reason we had a reasonable season, or a good season, and got to a Europa League final was because Solskjaer hit his peak. He played a back 6 and hit teams on the break. We soaked up pressure and we hit teams on the break. And teams struggled with beating us that way. What happened this season is teams figured us out. They knew that Solskjaer's tactics were basically sit deep and hit on the break. And they accommodated for that. They didn't overcommit players leaving gaps at the back, which straight away nullified our threat. We suddenly couldn't hit long balls over the top or hit teams in 3 or 4 seconds on the counter-attack because teams were like, we will attack them, but we'll be more patient in the attack. We're not going to get caught on the break. So Solskjaer's basic tactics got figured out this year, and that's why we couldn't continue getting the clean sheet and nicking a game like we did the season before. But somebody would quite rightly say, well, why couldn't we keep clean sheets then? Because, all right, we can't counter-attack and score the winning goal, but we can still keep the clean sheet. And this is the biggest point where we went wrong with Solskjaer this year. He kept the same tactics as the season that we came second in, where we got a lot of clean sheets or we won a lot of games 2-1. Moments on the break, defending deep. That's how we did well, and that's how we got second. We got figured out in this season, okay, but why did we concede so many goals? And this is the real point. When you're playing with no fans in a ground, you can sit and defend, and the only thing you can hear is someone coughing from the opposition opposition bench. There's no pressure. It's Sunday morning football. It's a training ground. It's behind closed doors. There's no fans. There's no atmosphere. So when they're attacking you, you're just talking to each other. Harry, pick up the man. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. You go to Vicarage Road in front of 30,000 fans and the first 20 minutes you're under pressure, that pressure is all around you. The crowd's up for it and you're trying to defend. And United just buckled. They buckled under the fact that there was fans in the ground. I'm amazed nobody's spoken about this. Solskjaer's tactics last season when we got second were very effective. We were very deep, we relied on moments on the break, and we came second in the league and we didn't concede many goals. This season, while we had him, we started conceding loads of goals. We stopped scoring goals. And that was because teams figured us out. But also, we had 75,000 fans at Old Trafford not happy with the tactics, putting pressure on the team. We had 30, 40, 50,000 fans away from home roaring on their team as they attacked and attacked us. And as I said, when you're defending as a unit and you can hear everybody crystal clear and there's nobody in the ground, it's a training exercise. You can stay focused. When you're trying to defend for massive parts of the game against not only 11 players that are playing an attacking style, but also a crowd that's on your back and, roaring their team on, it's a different type of pressure. Solskjaer's tactics fell apart the minute fans started coming into the ground and he got figured out. So this nonsense that if we'd stuck with Solskjaer, we'd be fourth, he'd lost the fans, his style of play had been figured out, and crowds in the ground, that team just couldn't deal with that pressure. Is everyone forgetting how painful it was to watch Ollie's games towards the end? Same 11, same results and horrible football with no change as MMA. And Joshua, welcome to the Members Club. I work on facts and results. Ollie was gone, the team was gone, says Ray Cal, Baron and Murray. And I agree with everything everybody's saying, but and look, if you think if we'd stuck with Solskjaer, everything would have been better than it is now, the toxicity in the dressing room was already there. It was just being covered up. But I firmly believe that these people who are analysing games saying, well, we could have just played deeper and hit on the break and scored goals. I mean, you need to go back to school, lads. Like that happened a year ago because there was no fans in the ground and it was a new thing that we were doing. It's like the Sheffield United system when they got promoted. They nearly got into Europe. The following season they got relegated because people figure systems out. And if you don't evolve your system, you get found out. And I do think the crowds made a big difference because when you're going away to Brighton or away to Anfield and there's no fans in the ground and you're parking the bus hitting on the brake, the only thing you've got to contend with is the shouting of the players that you're playing. But when you go to Anfield and Brighton and there's tens of thousands of fans against you and they're roaring their team on because they're attacking a lot, it's a different type of pressure, and United buckled under it. They did. So fans in the ground made a massive difference and we got figured out. Solskjaer's tactics were very basic. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Exciting summer to come, and I can't wait for it. So make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Thanks everyone who's become a member. We have got a show for you this evening. It's going to be the preview, so make sure you check that out unless anything else happens. I'm doing That's Football at 12:30 for Liverpool against Newcastle if you're interested in that. Also, just want to say as well, I know a few of you've ordered it already. We do ship worldwide, brand new, out now. Our hoodie collection is there. The link's in the video description. United Stand on Shopify. We've got a new design out for you. I think you'll find, if you're a fan of a certain TV series, you'll get what we're getting at here. Eric Ten Hag hoodies, t-shirts available in lots of different colours. You can get yours. Plus, you can get the fantastic the dance one that I wear as well. Links in the video description for that, or you can just go straight to the homepage for it. United Stand on Shopify. So thanks everybody for watching. Take care. Have a good day, evening, or wherever you're watching from. I'll speak to you all in a little bit.